up and welcome back to my channel. How is everyone doing? I hope we're all doing good. I hope we're all staying safe. If you are new, hi, my name is Celine. Welcome to my YouTube world. Welcome to my YouTube space. Please do not forget to subscribe before you leave. I would truly and greatly appreciate it. It's the red button right down here. Like, it's absolutely free. YouTube won't charge you, and I most certainly will not charge you. So please join my family, by subscribing. And when you're subscribed, please be sure to click that bell button just beside the subscribe button so you can always get notifications whenever a new video pops up on my channel. So guys, for today's video, I am here to do the eyeshadow tag. Now, I saw this tag video on Tammy's channel. I'm going to put the link to her channel in the description box, so please be sure to check out her channel. She's a beauty lifestyle creator, and yeah, she creates amazing content, so be sure to check her out, subscribe to her channel. And yeah, so I saw this tag video on her channel and I was like, ooh, that looks cool to do, and I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to do it. So yes, I am here to do the tag video. So basically there are like 13 questions altogether, so I wrote everything down in a notepad, so I'm just going to answer all 13 questions now. So speedily running through all the questions. Question 1, show us your newest palette. Ooh, my newest palette. So guys, like, my palettes are here and here because there's just nowhere to keep them. So if you see me stretching here and here, just know I'm stretching and trying to reach to get the palette. So my newest palette would have to be this guy, the Patricia. Well, actually there are two actually. These two are my newest palettes. The first one is the Revolution Patricia Bright Rich in Life palette, right? Yes, Rich in Life palette. And then the second one is this Makeup Obsession in the Neon Jungle palette. So these are my two newest palettes. So the next question says, show us your oldest palette. Wow. Okay. So this is my oldest palette. This is the BH Cosmetics 120 eyeshadow palette. Now this is the first palette I ever bought when I started makeup. So yes, this is my oldest palette. Like, man, this palette saved my ass a couple of times then, man. But yeah, this is my oldest palette. It says, show us your most affordable palette. I think my most affordable palette would have to be, this would have to be my most affordable palette, the Barry M Fall in Love palette. Now this palette retails for $6.99. That's like approximately how much in Naira? I'm going to put the Naira conversion down here, so yeah, I'll convert it and put it here. But yeah, I would like to think that this is like my most affordable palette, the Barry M Fall in Love eyeshadow palette. So next question is, show us your most colorful palette. So I think my most colorful eyeshadow palette would have to be this Revolution Tammy X palette. Now the BH Cosmetics 120 eyeshadow palette is also a colorful palette, but I would say the pigmentation of the BH Cosmetics palette is not like really strong. So I would have to choose this. If I was to pick between this one and the BH Cosmetic palette, I would say this would be my most colorful palette. Like, I just love the array of colors. But the BH Cosmetics first edition palette too is very colorful. Let me just open it for you guys so you guys see what I am talking about. So it's also a very colorful. So it's also a very colorful palette, but the problem is that the pigmentation of this one is not as good as the Tammy X palette. So yeah, I would say these two are my most colorful palettes. So yeah. So the next question is, show us your smallest palettes. Guys, I have so many small palettes. Like, let me drop these because, man. So these are my collection of small palettes, but I think out of all of them, the smallest would have to be the smallest would have to be this guy, the black opal. This guy would have to be the smallest. Yeah, I think. Yeah, the black opal, this black opal color splurge eyeshadow duo will have to be my smallest eyeshadow palette. It just comes with 2 eyeshadows. So yeah, I would say this black opal eyeshadow palette is my smallest palette. So show us your biggest palette. I think my biggest palette would have to be this Nuban Beauty Obsessions palette. Like this and these 2 palettes, I think. Yeah, these 2 palettes will have to be my biggest palettes. The BH Cosmetics Ultimate Artistry palette and then this Nuban Beauty Obsessions palette. Like these 2 eyeshadow palettes would have to be like my biggest palettes because they can never enter my makeup box. Like I have to put them in somewhere separate. But looking at it, I think this this Nuban Beauty is actually bigger than the BH Cosmetics Artistry palette. So I would say this is my biggest palette out of the 2. Between the 2 of them, this is my biggest. So the next question says, show us your palette with the best memory. Palette with the best memory. Palette with the best memory. I would have to say my palette with the best memory will have to be this BH Cosmetics 120 first edition palette because it was my first ever eyeshadow palette I bought with my money. Like I actually brought out money to buy this eyeshadow palette, so it's very sentimental. That's why I've gotten palettes that are actually better than this one now, but I haven't found myself letting this eyeshadow palette go because it just holds so much memory because this was the first ever eyeshadow palette I ever bought with my money. So yeah, I would say this is the eyeshadow palette that has the best memories because it was my very first time. Hilarious. So yeah, that is my eyeshadow palette with the best memory. So show us your palette. What's the hype? When I think about this question, like 2 palettes come to mind. For the international side, I would say this Huda Beauty Desert Dust palette. Like when this palette first came out, like it was all the rave, everybody wanted to have it, you know, and stuff like that. And when I got it, I was like, no, not bad. Like the pigmentations of the eyeshadow palette is quite nice. Like it's quite beautiful. Then for Nigerian brand, I'll have to go with this Nuban Beauty Hybrid palette. Like I really love this palette. The pigmentations are just gorgeous. Just look at how beautiful this palette is. Like the colors are amazing. So it might not be a hype abroad, but yeah, in Nigeria, like Nuban Beauty is like one of the huge cosmetic brands that we have. So yeah, their eyeshadow palettes are amazing. So yeah, next question, palette that is not worth the hype. So a palette, I found another palette too that is also worth the hype. This BH Cosmetics Cali Bible palette. I remember when I got it, like especially for the highlighter shades inside. Like all the shades are just so pigmented. So this is another palette that is worth the hype, the BH Cosmetics Cali Bible palette. So another a palette I would say is not worth the hype is this Box of Crayons eyeshadow palette. Now honestly, I think this one that I got is a dupe because I didn't buy it straight from the Box of Colors website. I bought it, I think, off of Amazon or so. So yeah, I would say I think it is not the real Box of Colors eyeshadow palette. I think it's probably a dupe or something. But yeah, when I look at the pigmentations of some of the eyeshadows I see and then this one, it just doesn't rhyme. So I think probably maybe I bought a dupe or a fake, I don't know. But this is what I will put under that category. So fave palettes from a fave brand. Honestly, let's see. My favorite palette would have to be this Barry M Fall in Love eyeshadow palette. Like This palette is like everything. Like I use this palette almost every, like if I just want to create any simple look, like something, a look that I don't want to even stress myself, I just reach for this palette. Like it is like my everyday go-to palette. And you can even see I've cleared out most of the colors. So this would have to be my fave palette. I don't know about the fave brand. Like Barry M, their eyeshadows are beautiful, but I don't know about this palette. And guys, I'm looking for, okay, and this one. So I would actually say Barry M, they have like really nice palettes. So I would say that Barry M is like a fave. So yeah, these two palettes are, I will categorize as my fave palettes from my fave brand, because like I find myself reaching out like to them every now and then. So yeah. Next question is most used palette. I think my most used palette will have to be this guy, this one, and then this Barry M Fall in Love eyeshadow palette, and then this BH Cosmetics Artistry palette. Like this would have to be my second most used palette. Like if I'm reaching out to a palette where I don't even want to waste time, I go for this. But if I'm really doing any kind of, you know, dramatic look, I reach out to this BH Ultimate Artistry palette. So yeah, those are my two most used eyeshadow palettes. But this one, this is the dawn. So next question is, what palettes did you rediscover doing this tag? Guys, I rediscovered a lot of palettes. Like first palette I rediscovered was this my Haggai and Esther. Hold up. Oh, first palette I rediscovered was this Haggai and Esther eyeshadow palette. Although I've used it recently, but yeah, it's like, oh wow, so I still have this palette. Then also this Maybelline The Nudes palette. This is also another one I rediscovered. I even forgot that I had this palette. So yeah, that's another one. I remember when this palette was like all the hype, man. Everybody had this Maybelline The Nudes palette. Then the next one too I also rediscovered is this BH Cosmetics Malibu palette. Like I totally forgot I had this palette, guys. Okay guys, so the last question for this tag would have to be, what is your most expensive palette? So I think my most my two most expensive palettes out of all these would have to be my Inglot Freedom System palette and the Huda Beauty Desert Dust palette. So these two, when you convert them like from their prices internationally to Nigerian brands, these are like my most expensive palettes so far out of all the other palettes. So yeah, these two are my most expensive palettes. Such a pretty color. I hardly even use it. Then the Huda Beauty Desert Dust. So these two are my most expensive palettes. So guys, this is the end of my eyeshadow tag video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you, because I actually enjoyed like bringing, or you know, looking through all this. I'm like, oh, I have this, oh, I have, oh wow, this palette is still here. Yes, so I actually enjoyed doing this tag. And yeah, I'll probably dive into some of these palettes like again, because looking at them, like some of them have some really nice colors that I really like. So yeah, so guys, if you are new, please don't forget to subscribe before you leave. And yeah, thank you guys so much for stopping by, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.